huge difference between driver and irons, which is traditionally why there hasn't been a lot of guys that are great drivers and great iron players. Typically, you're going to find a guy that's, an awesome iron player, an average driver, an awesome driver, and a decent iron player. The guys that come to mind in my career, or in their careers, that were great at both of them. Jack Nicklaus was really good at both of them. Tiger Woods in the year 2000 was unbelievable at both of them. Rory McIlroy, still to this day, I think he's a good iron player and a good driver. Greg Norman was one of those guys. The guys that really you consider elite were probably like elite ball strikers, happen to be pretty good at both of them. But then there's a lot of guys like later in Tiger's career. Phil Mickelson, for instance, I think that guy's been an awesome iron player his whole career and hasn't been a great driver. I think you can take Jordan Spieth and look at him when he was number one in the world. I think he was by far the best iron player and just an average driver. I think you start getting that combination where you're a good iron player and a good driver. You kind of have to start doing a little bit different things when you're hitting a driver versus hitting an iron. Well, the main thing is that the driver, you never hit the ground. You're not supposed to hit the ground. How am I going to avoid hitting the ground? And so the big difference between not hitting the ground and hitting the ground is with an iron, I can be more, this way with an iron and get away with it. With the driver, you cannot. And so, difference in setup with an iron and a driver. With an iron, I'm going to set up more with my sternum directly on top of my pelvis. With a driver, I'm going to have just a little bit more tilt to start. So this move in the golf swing is going to take care of the up, of hitting up on the golf ball. Well, when you're hitting an iron, you're hitting down on the golf ball. We want to hit the golf ball and then hit the ground. Well, with a driver, it's different. The ball's on the tee. We never want to hit the ground. So we want to have up built into it. So I'd say at the top of the swing with an iron, I'm going to be okay with the sternum being directly on top of the pelvis. Well, with a driver, I like to see the sternum get a little bit behind the pelvis, and then that makes it easier for us to be able to hit up from there. Setup and iron swing, we want to be more on top of this golf ball. On top to me means more this way, and so I'm going to do one where I feel like I'm hitting an iron, and we should see my angle of attack not be as up. Actually, probably will go down. So there's one where I felt like I'm hitting an iron. I hit 3.1 degrees down on that. That's not what we want to feel. So, and then like the proper driver setup is we want to have a little bit of spine tilt at address this way. So now I've kind of preset. My center of my pelvis is in front of the center of my sternum. And so I should be able to hit up a lot easier from here. Like I said, most of the up in the golf swing comes from right side bend. You see how that club moved off of the ground as I went into trail side bend. So all I did was bend to the right, and the club came off the ground. So that's an upward mechanism. There's other things that make the club go up. Back bend makes the club go up as well, or standing up in the shot. Straightening the legs would help. But the main thing that I see from drivers, from guys that are hitting driver, is their head is moving a little bit backwards from this view, moving this way and down, because they have more right side bend, more right tilt this way to try to make the club move up. So some of that, they preset it at address, a little bit of right bend, and now I can hit way up on this golf ball. Hitting up versus hitting down with a driver. Hitting down is going to make the golf ball launch lower. And typically, when you hit down with a driver, it's going to make the golf ball have more backspin. And so If you need help launching the golf ball higher and taking spin off of your golf ball, hitting up is going to help with that. And then there's guys that hit too much up on it. And we see guys in here that are 10 and 11, 12 degrees up, and their tendencies to bottom out too much back here. Well, those guys typically have too much of this. So we have to teach them, hey, I need you to feel like you're more on top of it. So it's all about balance. I'd say the most really you want to probably hit up on it. Probably when you start getting over 6 degrees up on it, I think that's probably a little bit excessive. But you can see how in those two swings and those two setups, because I felt more this way in this one, I hit 5.6 degrees up on one. And then the other one, I felt more this way, and I hit, I think, 3 degrees down on it. So the best drivers are hitting up on the golf ball. It used to be that the average angle of attack on tour was 0.8 degrees down, and that's changed over the years to where I'd say even the guys that are the least up on it are probably still pretty level. I don't think there's a ton of guys hitting down on the driver anymore. And that's because they found that it launches higher, it spins less, and when it does that, the golf ball goes further. Distance is the key. So you can hit up and put less backspin on the golf ball with the driver, it's going to go further.